Well, there is no Cardinals baseball to discuss tonight as the game was postponed due to weather. So that means we're going to make it up with a doubleheader on Wednesday afternoon and evening. Welcome, everybody, to Arch City Sports, a St. Louis sports podcast covering all of the sports in St. Louis. I'm your host, AJ Nance. Before we get started, of course, make sure to rate and follow the podcast on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. We have reached now over 300 on TikTok and Instagram in the first week and a half here, which is so awesome to see. Today, like I said, no Cardinals to talk about. We are going to look ahead to the doubleheader. By the time you'll be listening to this on Wednesday morning, the games obviously start at noon and at 6 o'clock at night. So kind of a quick update before those games start. You can kind of see what the keys for me personally, the keys to victory in at least one of those two games are. But also today we're going to start with the St. Louis Blues. In my opinion, my personal top three prospects to keep an eye on going into the draft, which is Friday evening. So let's just hop right into it. Starting with the St. Louis Blues top three prospects to keep an eye on. Now, last year we drafted three guys in the first round, and all of them were from Sweden, and all of them were forwards with offensive styled games. um, the three that I have here, I have one forward and two defensemen, and I have them in a certain order. Now, we have to remember these three guys that I am about to name all could very well be picked before we even get the chance with the 16th overall pick in this year's draft on Friday. Um, these three guys are guys with extreme upside and guys that a couple draft people had in their mock drafts, all three of these guys in the top 10. So you have to remember that going to this. When it comes to this year's NHL draft and last year's, or I should say this year's NBA and NHL draft, with these two drafts that are about to happen, the NBA being on Wednesday, the NHL on Friday, there's all these different prospects that are going to flop around. Both drafts are very similar in the way this year, where there's not like a clear top five or anything like that. They can kind of get jumbled around, and you could very well see guys that are listed in the second round on a lot of mock boards and mock drafts that go to the Blues at the 16th pick. It's very, very possible. But let's get it going with Sam Dickinson is my number one guy here. He's a 6'3", 205-pound, 18-year-old lefty defenseman from the London League, or from the London, Ontario in the OHL. He's a powerful, elusive skater that's effective on both sides of the ice and a great hockey sense for his age at 18 years old. He's got an absolute howitzer from the blue line, extremely powerful, extremely strong, as I mentioned, with 205 pounds. And all the mock drafts, all the boards, all the analysis on Sam that I saw, everybody says he's going to be a top four defenseman in the National Hockey League for many, many years to come. He's number one on my board. I've seen him for the Blues, I should say, but I've seen him as high as sixth or seventh in the draft on some of these mock boards. So he very well. He's kind of like that. If he falls you have to pick him, but it's going to be kind of hard to get him. It seems like, but he's the number one guy on my board here for the Blues. Number two is another defensive. That's Adam Jiricek. Now, Adam is a 6'2", 175-pound, 17-year-old righty defenseman from the Czech Republic. He's tall and lanky, being 175 pounds, but he's also only 17 years old, and he's going to be actually turn 18 during the draft on Friday. He has high level upside, but he suffered a season ending injury last year, 19 games into the season, and he was playing in the top league in the Czech Republic. He needs to fill out his frame, obviously, being 175 pounds as a defenseman, going to get pushed around at that size. He's one of those prospects. I think he will be around that 13 to 18 range. I think he will be available for the Blues. He's got really nice hockey sense for his age, being at 17 years old. But the big thing for him is filling out that frame. And I wonder if he's going to even fall lower in the draft because of this injury he just had. He's one of those prospects, though, you have to have a lot of patience with. Being 17 years old, there's a lot of growth with his body physically. It might take him 4 or 5 years You have to be really patient with him. He's number 2 on my list because he's another defenseman. And with us drafting a lot of forwards these last couple of years, uh, Stenberg, Otto Stenberg last year, Dvorsky, Jimmy Snuggerud the year before, all these forwards with offensive games that we've drafted these last 2 or 3 years. I think it's time that we kind of focus on the defenseman side. But rounding out this top 3 prospects to keep our eye on, I do have a forward, and this is a guy that could be in the top 10 very easily. Very explosive winger from Norway. That's Michael Brandseg Nygaard, a 6'1", 198-pound, almost 200-pound winger. Very explosive scorer with a physical game that can translate quickly to the pros, and he's very good on both sides of the ice. He's a very physical two-way player with an absolute howitzer of a snapshot from the wing, and along with him being so big, he could be a guy that he's the one I could definitely see us getting if he somehow falls to us. I think he's the one that will fit our system of playing that physical brand of hockey, and I think he's the one that has the best chance of being a Blue. Um, I feel like the Blues would not pick Yurchek just because being that young and also being that tiny and that lanky. He's again, he's the one that has just needs a lot of patience and a lot of waiting with him. And then, like I said with Sam Dickinson, I just don't think Sam's going to be available at this part of the draft, halfway through the first round. I think Brandseg Nygaard could go ninth or 10th, but I think he could fall to 16th or 17th. And with us picking 16th, I would be very happy with that pick. Like I said, though, definitely all three guys. There's a chance all 3 guys could be chosen before the 16th pick, and that's where we kind of adjust on the fly and kind of do more deep diving into all these different names that are out there once we find who we draft. Let's translate into the Cardinals, though. Again, no game to recap here. Let's take a look ahead to the doubleheader this upcoming afternoon on Wednesday at 12:15 and at 6:15. We have Reynaldo Lopez and Kyle Gibson, and then we have Bryce Elder. And it was supposed to be Palante, and I assume it still will be Palante pitching in that one. But as of right now, it says undecided on the little sheet here. So I assume it's going to be Palante. I'd be kind of shocked if it wasn't, unless they do some kind of bullpen game. But as of right now, it should be Gibson and Palante going into the doubleheader. So, what are a couple keys to at least win one of these 2 games and win the series and potentially sweep the Atlanta Braves? With Reynaldo Lopez, he's a guy that I mentioned in yesterday's episode, a 1.57 ERA coming into the start. Very good, very, very good. The thing with him, yes, he will be an all-star, but he doesn't go very deep into games. He's only gone into the 7th inning one time, or I think twice. Twice he's made it into the 7th inning. Once he's completed the 7th inning all year. So this is a 5 to 6 inning type of pitcher that doesn't get past 90 pitches very often. What does that mean for us to be effective? Because he is very effective in his short amount of time that he's able to pitch. So how do we impact him in a way to help us out? And in my opinion, we have to have long at bats, and we have the guys to do that. Mason Wynn can scrap at the top of the order with Burleson, how he's swinging it, and Brendan Donovan and Goldie and all these guys. If we can draw out those at bats and have Reynaldo Lopez get into 60 pitches by halfway through the 4th inning, we'll be in a very good spot to get to that bullpen. Another key is we need innings out of Gibson or Palante. One of these 2 guys needs to get us at least through 6. Would love to see both of these guys get us through 6. But for example, I think more of that pressure is on Kyle Gibson because he's the veteran here, and Palante is more of that 4 to 5 inning type style of pitcher as of right now, early in his career. Kyle Gibson needs to get us at least through 6. That would be really nice. If he can get us into the 7th and set up our bullpen, we will be looking very good in the game 1 of the doubleheader this afternoon. The last key I have is the lefties, and we are very lefty heavy, as I've mentioned many times. We need to jump on Reynaldo Lopez and Bryce Elder, and I specifically am focusing on the lefties because Reynaldo Lopez a very low ERA. He has a 1 ERA against righties this year, but it is elevated to a 2 ERA against lefties. Now, a 2 ERA is still great, but that's a 1 run difference there. And then Bryce Elder, who's had a really rough year with a 6.36 ERA, he has a 5 ERA against righties and a 7.5 ERA against lefties. So that shows me the lefties impact both of these pitchers more than righties do. And along with that, both pitchers have given up 4 homers this year, and both pitchers, 3 of those 4 homers for each of them has come against lefties. So I could see a Burleson bomb coming. I could see Gorman jumping on one of these pitchers. It's about time he turns on one and gets it going again. So I really like our chances to at least win one. I like our chances in that second game a lot against Bryce Elder, especially offensively. But can Palante hold his own? And to be honest, I like our chances in the first one with Kyle Gibson, with how he's been throwing the ball as of late. So let's at least get one of these and win the series. But winning both and sweeping the Braves and going on a 6-game winning streak would be absolutely ideal. It would take us to 5 games over 500, and we can really build a lot of momentum off of this. Even if we win one of these two, that's a lot of momentum that and confidence brewing in that clubhouse. So really fun, really exciting, and very interested to see how that goes. Also, I know we don't have an NBA team here in St. Louis, but the NBA draft will be happening tonight on Wednesday night. I believe the first round is at 6 p.m. The second round is actually on Thursday. They split it up this year, but I will definitely be watching the Cardinals on one screen and having the NBA draft on the other. But thank you guys for listening. Of course, make sure to follow on Instagram, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, and rate over there. Like and subscribe on YouTube, wherever you listen or watch your podcasts. Right now, we're just on Spotify and YouTube, so really lock in on those 2 platforms for us. We really appreciate it. Instagram and TikTok, thank you so much for all the followers. Trying our best to get videos out there daily from the podcast. So thank you guys so much for the support over there. Thank you guys for listening and watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow.